Princess Virelia of the Indari Empire was not used to hearing the word no. She was the only daughter of the High Emperor. Everything she ever wanted was given to her until now. Her father had chosen her future husband, a stiff, arrogant noble from the outer colonies. He was tall, handsome, and completely boring. Virelia had no interest in him or any of the other suitors lined up by the royal council. So one night, under the silver glow of the twin moons, she made a decision. She would run away, not forever, just long enough to find something real. A real connection. A real choice. A real mate, with the help of her private AI assistant. She stole one of the royal scout ships and left the palace hangar at full speed. The guards didn't even see her until she was already past the atmosphere. "Where to, princess?" the AI asked. "Take me somewhere wild, somewhere the Empire doesn't control, somewhere ... Different, Virelia replied. After a moment of scanning star maps, the AI replied, "There is one place. Class F civilization. Low-tech, isolated, dangerous. Planet O for 3K locals, call it Earth." Virelia smiled. "Perfect." The descent. To Earth didn't go as planned. As her ship entered Earth's atmosphere, a hidden human satellite activated an old defense system. A shockwave hit the scout ship, causing the engines to fail. Sparks flew, systems blinked out, and the AI shouted, "Warnings." Virelia grabbed the controls, trying to land safely, but her ship spiraled downward. Trees rushed up to meet her with a loud crash. The scout ship slammed into a forest on Earth's surface. Miles away, a young human named Daniel was in his garage, fixing a broken drone. He was a quiet man in his mid-20s, smart.com, and curious about everything beyond Earth. He worked as a part-time repair technician and spent his free time building machines and flying drones. That night, one of his drones picked up strange energy in the sky. He zoomed in and saw something falling, something on fire. Crashed into the nearby woods with a flash of blue light. "What the heck was that?" Daniel muttered, grabbing his jacket and keys. In the forest, Virelia stepped out of the smoking wreckage. Her royal dress was torn, her silver boots were muddy, and her crown was missing. She was angry, confused, and more than a little embarrassed. "Oh, what is this place?" she said, swatting away a bug. "AI status report," the AI replied. "Ship is damaged. Communication systems offline. You are stranded. Please remain calm." "I am calm," she shouted. Just then, a rustling came from the trees. Virelia turned, ready to defend herself. She expected soldiers, wild animals, or maybe even aliens. What she saw instead was a human. Daniel stepped carefully through the trees, flashlight in hand, until he spotted the wreck. His eyes widened. "No way, ... Is that a ship?" he whispered. Then he saw her, tall, glowing skin, long silver hair. Standing like she owned the world, Virelia raised her chin. "Human. I am Princess Virelia of the Indari Empire. You will assist me at once." Daniel blinked. You? ... Okay? Do you need help?" Said, "Assist me. I demand shelter, food, and repairs to my ship. Immediately." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You crashed into my forest, bossed me around, and now you want a ride?" Virelia frowned. "You dare speak to royalty this way, look lady?" Daniel said with a half-smile. "I don't know who you are, but if you're not hurt, we should probably get you out of here before someone else shows up." Virelia looked around. "Very well, accept your offer." "I didn't really offer," Daniel began, but Virelia was already walking past him, brushing leaves off her sleeves. He sighed. "All right, come on, Space Princess." Daniel's old pickup truck rattled as it rolled down the forest road. The stars above were fading into dawn, but his mind was wide awake. In the passenger seat sat an alien, tall, proud, clearly not from Earth. Virelia crossed her arms and stared out the window like the world around her was beneath her. Her silver hair shimmered in the early light, and her glowing eyes scanned every tree, road sign, and telephone pole with suspicion. "Your transport is slow," she said finally. "It's not a starship." Daniel replied with a small laugh. "It's a 1998 Ford. You're lucky it still runs." She turned to him. I demand something more suitable for a royal guest. Daniel gave her a sideways glance. You crash into my planet, yell at me, and now you're demanding things. I am a princess of the Indari Empire, she said. With pride, I do not ask. I command. Daniel smirked. Well, princess, on Earth, people who shout at strangers don't usually get help. They get strange looks, and maybe a police escort. Virelia blinked. Police? Are they soldiers? You don't want to meet them right now. They reached Daniel's house, a small, cozy cabin on the edge of town. Solar panels lined the roof, and strange gadgets filled the yard. Wasn't much, but it was home. As Virelia stepped out of the truck, she wrinkled her nose. This is where you live? Yeah. Quiet. Private. Safe. 3 things I like. It's simple. Daniel rolled his eyes. Let's get you cleaned up. You look like you've wrestled a wild raccoon. I did wrestle something. It had fur and teeth. Daniel chuckled. Sounds like a raccoon. Inside, Virelia explored everything touching switches, poking at the microwave and asking what a coffee maker was. She refused to wear Earth clothes, choosing instead to clean her royal suit and wear it like armor. Daniel made her scrambled eggs. She sniffed the plate suspiciously. What is this? Eggs? Food? You eat them? Virelia took one small bite, then finished the plate in seconds. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Hungry? I haven't eaten since I left my homeworld, she said, licking her fork. You cook well, Earth boy. My name's Daniel, and mine is Virelia, first daughter. Of the Flame Throne. That's a mouthful. I'll just call you V. She stared at him. Only my royal guards call me that. You're not on your royal planet now. Virelia stared at him for a moment, then gave a small, amused smile. Later that day, Daniel drove her into town. She wore a hoodie and sunglasses to blend in, though her height and posture still made people stare. Virelia looked around with wonder and confusion. Why do so many? People walk without escorts? 'Cause we don't have royal guards? No guards? How do you survive? Daniel shrugged. By being nice, mostly, and locking our doors. They stopped at a taco stand. Virelia studied the paper-wrapped food like it was a science experiment. What's in it? Meat, cheese, salsa. It's good. She took one. Bite paused, then devoured the whole taco. Earth food is powerful, she declared. Daniel laughed. That's the hot sauce. As the day went on, Virelia started to relax. She watched people talk, laugh, and live without servants or status. It was strange, but also freeing. But unknown to her, deep above the planet's orbit, a silent ship uncloaked. It was black, sharp-edged, and carried the mark of the Indari Empire. Aboard it, bounty soldiers checked the surface scans. Target confirmed. Royal scout ship detected in forest zone. Princess Virelia is on Earth. Orders. Retrieve the princess alive. Use force if needed. Back on Earth night. Fel, Daniel, and Virelia sat under the stars behind his house. She looked up at the sky, quiet for once. You really don't care who I am? She asked softly. I care that you're alive, Daniel said. Not who your parents are. She looked at him, thoughtful. Most people in the Empire bow when they hear my name. I'm not from the Empire. Virelia nodded slowly. That's why I came here. I wanted something real, not someone who just bows and agrees. Well, Daniel said, grinning, you picked the right planet. Shh. Gave a small laugh. But far above, danger was already on its way. The next morning, sunlight poured through the windows of Daniel's cabin. Birds sang outside, and the smell of toast filled the air. Virelia sat at the kitchen table, sipping orange juice and poking a slice of toast with deep suspicion. It's crunchy bread? She asked. Daniel grinned as he flipped eggs in the pan. It's called toast. I thought royalty would have seen that before. We don't burn our bread, Virelia said seriously. But I'll allow it. Daniel chuckled. In just 2 days, the proud alien princess had learned how to open a fridge, use a toothbrush, and even say thank you, though she still struggled to say it without sounding like a queen giving out a reward. Still, he had to admit, she was changing. Just a little. After breakfast, they took a walk through the town's weekend market. Daniel introduced her as V, claiming she was a foreign exchange student from a remote island. It wasn't a perfect excuse, but it worked well enough. People greeted them with smiles. No one asked too many questions. Valeria was amazed by Earth's small joys, handmade jewelry, street music, fresh fruit. At one booth, she picked up a necklace with a glass pendant shaped like a tiny star. "This is beautiful," she whispered. Daniel saw something in her face. She looked peaceful, like she wasn't just pretending anymore. "You want it?" he asked. Valeria shook her head. "I don't need gifts." Daniel grinned. "It's not a royal tribute, it's just a nice thing." From a friend, she smiled and took it. Later that afternoon, they stopped at a taco truck again. Valeria had declared tacos to be the greatest invention of Earth and demanded to taste every flavor. She ordered 5 different kinds and sat at a table with a proud smile, ready to feast. As she took her first bite, her eyes lit up. "This one has a strange green sauce. It's spicy, it burns. I like it," Daniel laughed. "Welcome to Galapagos." She kept eating and talking. She told Daniel about her homeworld, the floating cities of Endaria, the great crystal gardens, and the way her people could travel between stars and hours.
Ow.
But her voice turned quiet when she spoke about her father. "He used to tell me I could be anything," she said. "Then he started telling me what I must be. I must marry, where I must go. I got tired of it." Daniel nodded. "So you ran away?" "I ran to something," she said. "I just didn't know what." She looked at him, and for a moment neither of them spoke. But in the sky above, things were not peaceful. The Endari stealth ship had tracked her movements. From the shadows of Earth's upper orbit, it sent down a small drone. The drone landed in the forest near Daniel's house and released tiny machine scanners that followed her trail. Inside the ship, Commander Roth watched a screen. "Target located. Princess is with a native." "Orders?" one soldier asked. "Prepare for capture. No harm to the princess." "But the human." Roth narrowed his eyes. "If he resists, remove him." That evening, Daniel and Valeria returned home. The stars were out again. She sat on the porch, the glass star pendant still around her neck. Daniel handed her a cup of warm tea. "You like stargazing?" he asked. "I grew up above the stars," she replied. "But they never looked this bright." He sat beside her. "You could stay here, you know, for a while. No royal rules, no suitors. Just ... life." Valeria looked at him, unsure. "You want me to stay?" "I think Earth could use someone like you. You're self-milled." She smiled again, but before she could answer, the AI in her wrist device beeped loudly. "Warning, hostile. Endari signal detected. Incoming." "Threat?" Valeria jumped to her feet. "They found me." Daniel stood up. "Who?" "Soldiers. My father must have sent them." Just then, a low humming noise filled the air. The trees behind the house rustled, then split apart as a black hovercraft appeared. It was sleek, silent, and shaped like a dagger. The door opened and 3 armored Endari soldiers stepped out. "Princess Valeria," one of them said through a voice amplifier. "You are ordered to return. By force, if necessary." Valeria moved in front of Daniel. "He is under my protection." The soldier raised a stun weapon. "He is irrelevant." Daniel grabbed a metal pipe from his workbench. "Try me." The Endari soldiers stood tall, their armor shining under the moonlight. They didn't speak again. Their orders were clear. Take the princess. Remove the human if needed. Valeria stepped forward, her eyes fierce. "Stand down," she ordered. "I will not return with you." "Your wishes do not matter," the lead soldier replied coldly. "We follow the Emperor's command." Daniel tightened his grip on the metal pipe. His heart pounded in his chest. He had no armor, no weapons, and no training. But he wasn't going to let them take her. "You want her?" I said, raising the pipe. "You'll have to go through me first." The soldiers hesitated. They weren't used to humans challenging them, especially not unarmed ones. The lead soldier lifted his stun weapon. Before he could fire, Virelia jumped forward. She moved fast, faster than Daniel had ever seen. With a sharp swing of her arm, she knocked the weapon aside. It fired into the air, sending a bolt of light into the trees. She grabbed Daniel's hand. "Run!" They dashed through the forest, branches scratching their clothes and boots thudding against the earth. The hovercraft behind them began to rise, scanning the area with a glowing blue beam. "They'll catch us," Daniel shouted. "Not if we reach my ship," Virelia said. "But it's damaged. The emergency pod still works." They ran harder. Behind them, the soldiers gave chase, using boosters in their boots to glide over the ground. The beam swept closer. Daniel tripped over a root, but Virelia caught him before he hit the ground. "Keep going," she said. "Don't stop." They reached the crash site. Virelia tapped a code into her wrist device. A hidden hatch on the ship opened with a hiss, revealing a small escape pod. She shoved Daniel inside. "Wait, what about you?" he asked. "There's only one seat. You're going?" "No way," Daniel said, grabbing her arm. "We leave together." "Or not at all." Virelia stared at him. "You'd stay for me, even if it's dangerous?" "I don't leave friends behind, especially ones who like tacos." She laughed just once and climbed in beside him. "All right, let's hope this thing still flies." Pod lifted into the sky just as the soldiers burst into the clearing. One of them fired and a blast hit the side of the ship. The pod shook, alarms beeping inside. "We're hit," Daniel shouted. Virelia worked quickly, rerouting the power. "I'll guide us to orbit, but we need help." She opened a hidden frequency one her father didn't control. A familiar voice responded. "Princess, this is Diplomat Soren. Are you safe?" "No, but we're alive. We need extraction. I'm sending a signal. Hold on." The pod soared through Earth's upper atmosphere. Flames licked the windows as they broke through gravity. Daniel gritted his teeth, feeling the pressure in his chest. And then, silence. They reached orbit. Ahead of them, a sleek silver ship appeared, design unlike the soldiers' warcraft. It was a neutral vessel from a group of Andari peacekeepers. The pod connected to it with a hiss and a click. Inside, Virelia and Daniel were met by a tall alien in a dark cloak. "Soren, you caused quite the storm, Princess," Soren said. "Half the Empire is looking for you." "I know," she replied, "and I won't go back. Not like this." Soren nodded. "Then you need to speak. Publicly." Later, inside the ship's secure room, a camera was set up. Virelia stood before it, her royal outfit restored and cleaned. Daniel stood. Behind the screen, silent, supportive, she took a breath. "To the people of the Andari Empire." She began, "This is Princess Virelia. I speak now, not as a daughter of the throne, but as a voice of my own will. I chose to leave. Not because I reject my people, but because I believe we all deserve choice. In love, in life, in who we stand beside. I met someone an Earth human, not of noble blood, not from a great house, but someone who saw me for who I truly am. I will not return to Andaria unless I am free to make my own decision. I will not allow others to be punished for that. Freedom." The message ended. Across space, it was sent secretly, but powerfully. And even before it reached her father, it reached the people. And it began to stir something in them. Daniel met her eyes after the message. "You didn't have to say that. Part about me." "I wanted to," she said. Then she smiled. "A real one. You saved me, Daniel." He shook his head. "You saved yourself. I just helped." But even as they stood there, the Emperor himself had received the message, and his answer was already on its way. The message from Virelia spread faster than fire across dry leaves, in the halls of noble houses and quiet cities of the Andari Empire. People watched the princess speak not as a ruler's daughter, but as someone brave. Enough to say no to tradition. Some cheered, some whispered, some began to question the rules they had always followed. But on the Emperor's personal battleship, there was no cheering. Only silence. Emperor Kael Varric stood tall at the front of the command deck. his gold-trimmed armor glowing under the lights. His face was calm, but his eyes burned. "My daughter defies me. Before the galaxy," he said coldly, "she has chosen. Rebellion over duty," said one of the generals beside him. "No," Kale replied. "She has chosen a path without guidance. That is not rebellion. That is foolishness." He turned toward the stars. "Prepare my ship. I will deal with this. Myself." Back on the peacekeeper vessel, Varelia watched reports come in. "Some nobles are demanding your arrest," Soren told her. "But others, young leaders, commoners, even low-ranked diplomats are supporting you." "Then maybe it's working," she said quietly. But her hope faded when Soren showed her the next message. Her father's flagship had entered Earth's orbit. "He's coming," she said. "I didn't think he'd leave the throne world. He never lets go of what he believes is his," Soren replied. "Especially family."
Oh.
Meanwhile, Daniel walked the ship's observation deck. He had seen many strange things in the last few days. Soldiers, space travel, even alien food, but none of it felt as big as this. The emperor of an entire empire was coming. Because of a small act of choice, he looked out at Earth in the distance. Home. And for the first time, it didn't feel quite as big. Maybe humans weren't so small after all. Varelia joined him, quiet for a moment. "He'll try to take me back," she said. "And I'll stop him," Daniel said. She gave him a look. "He commands fleets, Daniel. You have a wrench in a jacket with holes in it." Daniel smiled. "Then I guess I'll need a better jacket." She laughed, but the worry didn't leave her eyes. "We can't run forever," she said. "Then we stand," he answered. Hours later, the Emperor's ship arrived. It docked with the peacekeeper vessel under a strict agreement: no weapons, no force, only a meeting. But everyone on board could feel the tension. The air was heavy. Emperor Kale entered the meeting room like a storm. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and walked as if every step made planets move. Varelia stood to face him, back straight. "Father," she said calmly. Kale looked her up and down. "You've changed. I've grown. You've disobeyed. I've chosen." The Emperor turned to Daniel. "Is this the one?" Daniel gave a small nod. "Yes, sir." Kale raised an eyebrow. "You are unimpressive." "Thanks," Daniel said. "You're taller than I expected." A few peacekeepers nearby coughed, trying to hide their surprise. Varelia hid a smile. Kale's eyes narrowed. "Do you love my daughter?" Daniel didn't hesitate. "I respect her. I trust her. I'd protect her with my life." "That wasn't my question." Daniel met his gaze. "Then no, not yet. But maybe one day. I'd rather give her something honest than something forced." There was a long pause. Then the Emperor said, "You speak boldly." "For a human, maybe that's why she left," Daniel said. The Emperor turned back to Varelia. "You were born to rule, not to run." "I'm not running," she said. "I'm choosing. That's what a real leader does." Kale's face softened only for a moment. "Then prove it," he said. "If this human truly stands by your side, he will face the ancient test. The right of worth." Varelia stepped forward. "That's for nobles," Kale nodded. "Then let your human stand among nobles. Let him pass the trial. If he does, I will allow your choice. And if he fails," Kale's voice dropped. "He returns to Earth." Alone. After the Emperor left, silence filled the room. Daniel looked at Varelia. "What's the right of worth?" "Trial of courage," she said. "Used in old times to test warriors. It's not just strength. It's mind, body, and heart." "Sounds like a game show," Daniel joked. "With more fire, it's dangerous," she said seriously. "Could get hurt," Daniel thought. For a moment, then he smiled. "Let's show your father what Earth people are made of." Daniel stood at the edge of a glowing platform. Round him was darkness, broken only by strange symbols on the walls. He was inside the ancient right of worth chamber, a test made by the Andari long ago. A test for warriors. A test for leaders. A test for those who dared to challenge fate. Now, a human stood in it. Above, in a secure chamber, Emperor Kale, Princess, Virelia and the peacekeeper Soren watched from a viewing screen. The room was quiet. He doesn't have armor, one noble whispered. He has no training, said another. He's not Andari, Kale said calmly, but he has spirit. Let's see what it's worth. Inside the chamber, Daniel took a breath. As the floor beneath him shifted, walls moved and strange lights lit up the floor in patterns. A voice echoed through the chamber comm, robotic and ancient. Trial 1. The path of judgment. Find the way. No mistakes. Time begins now. Suddenly 3 paths appeared before him, each with different symbols. One of fire, one of ice, one of wind. Daniel stared. You've got to be kidding me, he remembered. Virelia's advice. The trial isn't about power. It's about choices. He closed his eyes. Okay. Wind rises above. Fire burns. Ice breaks slowly, but which one leads forward? He looked again, then stepped onto the wind path. The floor held. He kept walking. A wrong turn made the tiles shake, but he stayed calm, trusted his gut, and reached the glowing gate at the end. The door opened. Trial 2. The trial of balance. Stand your ground. Daniel entered a round room with a narrow platform in the center. Below was a deep, endless pit. In the middle, a floating disc waited for him. He stepped onto it. Immediately, strong wind blasted from all sides. The disc spun. The platform tilted. Daniel almost fell but grabbed a handle just in time. He dropped the pipe from his pocket to steady his weight. All right, he muttered. No more taco nights before risky tests. The disc tilted again, but Daniel dropped to his knees, crawling slowly to the center. His body shook, but his focus stayed strong. After what felt like hours, the wind stopped. A door opened. Final trial, the heart's mirror. This chamber was quiet. No spinning, no danger. Only a mirror in the center. Daniel approached it at first. It showed only his reflection. Then it changed. He saw Earth burning. He saw Virelia crying. He saw himself. Walking away? No, he said. This isn't real. The mirror spoke. If your love costs war, will you leave it behind? Daniel stood tall. Love isn't about running. It's about standing when it's hard. I won't leave her. Not now. Not ever. The mirror turned white, then vanished. The walls around him opened. Trial complete. Above, the nobles were silent. The emperor stood slowly. He passed, Soren said. Virelia's eyes glowed. She had held her breath through every test hands, clenched tight. But now she exhaled, finally. Kale said nothing at first. Then he spoke. Bring him to me. Minutes later, Daniel stood before the emperor. His shirt was torn. His hands were dirty, and sweat covered his face. But he stood tall. Kale studied him in silence. You are not a warrior, he said. No, Daniel replied. But I fight for what matters. You are not a noble. Nope. And you are not afraid. Daniel gave a small smile. Oh, I'm definitely afraid. I'm just not quitting. For a long moment, the emperor was still. Then he turned. To his daughter, you chose well. Virelia stepped forward. Does that mean... Kale raised his hand. From this day, your bond is your own choice. I will not force it. Gasps came from the nobles. Kale's voice grew louder. The empire must change. Even a father must listen when his daughter speaks with a strong heart. He faced Daniel. You are now a guest of the empire, not as property, but as one who stood the trials with courage. Daniel nodded. Thank you, Your Highness. Later, as the peacekeeper ship prepared to return to Earth, Virelia and Daniel stood together in the docking bay. You did it, she said. No, Daniel replied. We did. She smiled. So, what happens next? Daniel grinned. Well, I was thinking tacos, and maybe figuring out how to introduce you to Earth as my space friend. She laughed. Start with tacos. We'll save space royalty for later. Docking doors opened, and together, hand in hand, they walked toward a future they chose themselves. Weeks had passed since the trial. Daniel was back on Earth. But life wasn't the same anymore. He was no longer just the quiet repairman who flew drones and fixed old gadgets. People around town had started noticing the strange visitor always by his side. The tall woman with silver hair and star-bright eyes, who spoke politely but walked like she owned the sky. And maybe, in some way, she did. Virilia had returned. With him to Earth, not as a runaway, but as an official ambassador from the Indari Empire. Her father, the Emperor, had surprised everyone by not only accepting her decision, but also starting peaceful talks between the Empire and Earth. It wasn't easy. Some humans didn't trust aliens. Some Indari didn't trust humans. But Virilia and Daniel had already done something powerful. They had shown both sides that understanding was possible. That respect didn't come from bloodlines or ships in the sky. It came from how you treated people. One taco at a time. Daniel's small town had changed. 2. The local school now had a special guest once a week, Virilia, teaching alien languages and stories from the stars. Children gathered around her wide-eyed as she told tales of floating cities and glowing gardens, crystal skies and ancient moons. "Did you really fly through a storm made of glass?" one girl asked. "Yes," Virilia said with a soft smile. "And I once ate something called deep-fried butter. I still think the storm was safer." The children laughed. At night, Daniel and Virilia often sat on the roof of his cabin. "Looking at the stars? You ever think about going back?" Daniel asked once. "Sometimes," Virilia answered. "My people are still learning. There's so much to change. But for now, this is where I need to be." "With me?" he asked. She looked at him. "Yes, with you." They sat in silence for a while. The sky was clear. Earth's moon hung bright above them. "I used to think humans were small," Virilia said. "But you're not. You're just starting." Daniel smiled. "Well, we've got good teachers now." Back in Indari space, something new had begun, inspired. By Virelia's message, young leaders started questioning old traditions. New voices were heard in the council. The Emperor, once firm and unshaken, now listened more. Change was slow, but real, and the name Earth began to spread across stars, not as a weak world, but as a place where something powerful had happened. A place where a princess had made a choice. A place where courage didn't wear armor. One day, a special event was held in Earth's capital. Representatives from many planets, including the Indari Empire, arrived to witness something new, the signing of Earth's first interplanetary friendship treaty. Virilia stood proudly in her ceremonial dress, glowing like moonlight. Daniel stood beside her, dressed in a clean jacket without holes. Finally, holding the signed agreement in both hands. "Do you think people will remember this day?" Daniel whispered. Virilia looked around. "Yes, but more importantly, they'll remember why it happened. Because a spoiled alien heiress landed in the woods?" She laughed. "Because two people decided to listen to each other." The crowd cheered as the treaty was sealed, and for the first time in Earth's history, humans were no longer alone. Later that evening, back in their quiet town, Daniel opened the door to their small home. "Want the good news or the weird news?" First, he asked. Virilia sat on the couch with a book from Earth's library. "Let's start with weird. The mayor wants to name a street after you. Will it have tacos?" "No, but it might have a statue." She raised an eyebrow. "Of me? Of us? Q? Me? And probably the shipwreck." Virilia sighed with a smile. "Earth is strange." She nodded. Home. Outside, a new star blinked in the sky. Not a comet. Not a ship, just a signal from far away. From a world once thought unreachable, it blinked 3 times. Then stopped. A message of peace, and a reminder that sometimes, ... the most powerful. Stories don't begin with wars or battles. They begin when two people from different worlds simply say, "Let's try."